Hello YouTube. This video is a follow-up to a post that I put on the Reddit shortwave forum. I was asking for some input on buying a inexpensive shortwave radio that was less than $35. Now, why $35? Well, I wanted a radio that was low enough in price that when it was sat on, something was spilled on it, left on the back of the car or what have you, destroyed, unusable again, that it would not break the bank in having to replace it, and I would not have lost a large amount of money by it being destroyed. So I kind of set my price at $35, and I posted, I said, hey, give me some ideas of some inexpensive shortwave radios. Well, I got several replies on there that said, don't waste your money on buying the cheap radios. Go ahead and save up and buy the Tecsun PL660, PL880, the Sangean 808, 909X, Grundig satellites. Well, those radios are expensive. Most of them retail well over $100. Some of them $200 to $300, depending on what you want to get. And I'm just not going to spend that much money on a radio that is going to be, going with me in my bag to work, hanging out in the truck, going in the, in the car on road trips with the kids. And two, I wanted these to be radios that my kids could use as well, so that they could kind of get interested and, introduced to the whole shortwave listing and amateur ham radio operating. Just to give them something to kind of play around with and see what's out there. So $35 was the maximum I was going to spend on any one radio, and I got several people on the forum that said, hey, the Tecsun R9012 is a good little radio. It's analog, and it's a pretty good performer, and it's cheap. There's not a lot of bells and whistles, but it's your basic radio. And had several other people, suggest that I look at the camera, the Tivdio or Tivdio, or I don't know how you pronounce it. The camera's messing up. V-111, and this radio is, I think, marketed under several different brand names. I actually ordered it as a Redicus V-111, and it came in as a new inbox Tivdio, however you pronounce it. Several people recommended it, said it was a good little radio, so I got online, started looking around, and the V-111 I got new off of eBay, $11 free shipping, brand new inbox from a vendor, and the Tecsun R9012 was $22, brand new, in the box, free shipping from a vendor. So I said, you know what, I'm going to buy them both and see which one I like the best. And I posted that on the forum that I had decided to purchase both of them, and I was going to kind of use them for a little while and then give a review of my opinion of them. Yes, that is correct, my opinion, because this is in no way a scientific review of the performance of these radios. This is just an average person using them for about 2 weeks, playing around with them, seeing what they would do in my area, under my conditions. So if you were looking for a scientific review, you might want to scroll on around to another video somewhere. But anyways, so took them about 2 days to get in. I've had these radios for about 2 weeks now. I've been using them pretty regularly, and they are both good little radios for the amount of money you spend on them. I mean, $11 and $22. You know, you're not going to get a super, you know, high performance radio for that kind of money. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, they don't have single sideband capabilities. Well, they sure don't. Not for not for the price that they are. You're not going to get single sideband filtering. That's expensive to build and install, and you're not going to get it on a low end radio, a cheap, inexpensive radio. Now I've got some radio receivers. I've got a Realistic DX100. I've got a Hallicrafters S120. Got an old Heathkit GR91, and then I've got my ham HF rig, which has some general coverage capabilities. It'll go in, you know, out of the, it'll receive outside of the ham bands. Um, so I can listen to single sideband on those if I want to, and I do. But these two radios I bought specifically for being able to hear the big AM shortwave stations, the AM, you know, broadcast stations, um, and being able to tune those in and listen to them. Both of these radios are FM capable as well for your standard broadcast FM frequencies, and they do well on FM as well. They're not super. They're, you know, they won't pull in a station that's 100 miles away, but both of these radios will regularly tune in FM from radio stations within 40 miles of my location, if they're high power enough. Now we have a I forget how many kilowatt or how many watt station we have down near the coast, that's FM, and they can, both of them, tune it in and perfectly fine. A little bit of fading on FM, but not much. Local stations, you know, here within 10 miles of my location, you know, they do just fine. The FM, I mean the AM and shortwave, they do great on as well. Each one has its own little quirks and little, you know, special features to it that you kind of have to learn how to do. Um, but overall, they're both great little radios. The biggest difference in these two radios is one's an analog, one's a digital. If you look at the Tecsun R9012, you'll see that it is a analog radio. It has the traditional slide rule, band scale. It's got a slide switch to change your bands from FM medium wave to the 10 um, shortwave bands, and it is not full coverage. It is not a general coverage receiver. It is divided into bands, and they do not cover all of the frequency spectrum. One thing in particular notable about this radio is it does not cover 10 megahertz, which is what WWV broadcasts on. That's a time and frequency standard station. Um, and 10 megahertz is where I can pick it up most of the time at my location here. 5 I can't really hear it on. 15 I really can't hear it on. Occasionally I'll get it on 15. Very rarely though. Most of the time it's 10 megahertz, and that's what I always tune to make sure a radio is receiving properly and the band scale set up correctly, and everything is like I need it. This radio will not cover 10 megahertz. It goes to 995. I think it will go to about 998, and I can barely hear a tone from the 10 megahertz coming through, but it's not on frequency, so it's not much use. This radio goes from 995 thereabouts to 1155, so it skips the whole 10 megahertz range in the frequency spectrum, and to me that's a drawback because of the reasons I stated, that I like to use 10 megahertz to just check everything out. Now, the Tivdio, the V-111, it will cover 10 megahertz. It will scan